So I'm Cassie Davidson. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. I have been in and out of the streets my whole life. I grew up in a family where it was always chaos. It was always drama. Of course, I wanted to be just like everyone else around me. I started drinking at the age of 7. We had cops at our house just about every single night. So it was normal. That's how we showed our love, was arguing and fighting. So that started our addiction in drugs and alcohol. And by the time I was 13 years old, I was already in and out of juvenile. By the time I was 16, I was pregnant. The guy I was pregnant by, when the baby was born, he ended up going to prison. And he did 20-something years in prison. But when I was 19, I was 18, my father passed away. And so it was just me, my mom, and my sister. Well, I had my son, he was 2 years old, and I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I went through chemotherapy, and coming out of chemotherapy, because I had to do it alone, I went wild again and started going back to the streets, and my sister took care of my little boy for me. I got pregnant again, and I was like 6.5 months pregnant, and I didn't want to have the baby because I didn't know who the father was. I got pregnant in my addiction, so I wasn't sure who I was pregnant by. So I said something about abortion to my sister, and she's like, no, I'll take the baby. I'm already taking care of your other one, I'll take care of this one too. Well, at about 6.5 months pregnant, we got a phone call. My sister and her kids were killed. They were hit head-on by a log truck, and just so happened my son had spent the night with me that night, and her newborn baby had stayed the night with a babysitter. She was taking the other 2 girls to the doctor, and they were all hit head-on and killed. And I still struggled. I was in and out of the streets for 19 years, homeless, trying to get my life together, trying to do the right things. And I knew that God was with me the whole time, because there's so many times that I should have died. I've been to prison twice, and both times that I went to prison was because I chose to go to prison, because when I was there is the only time that I knew God was with me, because I wasn't medicated on the streets. I was sober, and I was in a church every day. Every time they had church service in jail, I was there. So I chose to break the law instead of being on the streets to go to prison. And that was my comfort zone. So I lived in the streets for a long time. I lost my mom. I just lost all hope. I didn't even want to get better. My husband, he had a massive heart attack, and I tried to revive him, and he did not come back. He passed away. He was in my arms, and I'm trying to do CPR and trying to revive him, and he didn't come back. There was no saving him. And so it showed me that it was time to change. It was time for me to get up and do something about how I was living and not live that way anymore. So I got out of the streets, and I went and stayed with a friend. He said that he would take care of me, and I told him I was sick. I was really sick, and that I needed to get more help than just him. Well, he took me to his house, and he beat me. He held me there for like a month, and he had beat me half to death. When I finally got away from him, I was hospitalized for a week. I had a broken jaw, I had bleeding on my brain, I had a broken neck, I had 2 broke ribs, and I had to be rushed into surgery to get my jaw wired. And whenever I went in there, it was like God just spoke to me, and he's like, this is it. There's no going back. It was time for me to get released from the hospital, and I did not want to go back to the streets. I was too scared, and I was not wanting to live there anymore. And Terry and her husband Stu picked me up from the hospital, and we went around to several different places to get me somewhere to stay. And I'll never forget, everyone was turning me down. So I was really scared. I was like really scared that I was gonna have to go back to the streets because there was nobody taking me because of COVID. And so that's when I looked at Terry and I said, I don't want to go back. And she told me I didn't have to, that she was going to take me home with her. And she, right then, when Terry told me that I did not have to go back to the streets, that she was going to make sure I never had to go back, that is when hope was birthed in me. I just knew then that I was going to be okay for the rest of my life. Dream Center paired me up with a coach. Her name is Karina, and she's awesome. We get along great. I can remember the first day that we met, and it was like we just clicked right then. And she's been in my life now for over a year. I can trust her with anything that I say and know that it doesn't go anywhere. And if I, just need a shoulder, she's there. It's really helped me a lot having her there because I don't have any family. I don't have anybody to back me up except for her. So it's really amazing that we get to experience that. After that, I got accepted into Big Fish Ministries, and I've been there now since July 2nd, 2020. I graduate soon. I've got my own car. I've got a job, and I'm looking forward to furthering my education and giving back to the community.